Hi guys, welcome to Emulsion TV. This is a new series called Emulsion Uncut. This is the first episode. We're joined by Ryan Richards. Hello Ryan.
Hiya.
Can you give us a brief intro? Tell us a bit about yourself.
So I guess a street photographer slash barista. I work in a coffee shop making lattes, and then on days off just spend my time burning through film around Belfast.
Yeah. So why are you shooting film in 2020?
I guess it started off with that I couldn't afford a big digital camera, and I was like, how do I get like a nice, like kind of big negative with a small camera that I can fit in my pocket, and film sort of made sense for that. And then once I started to see the look from film, I was like, why?
You're hooked.
Yeah. Just get hooked to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was your first film camera?
Very first film camera was a Canon FTB QL. So I think I got it off eBay for like £8, and it came wrapped in cling film. I have this memory of the first roll of film I shot that I went out and took all the pictures, and for some reason thought that you only had to develop film if you wanted to like print pictures from it. Yeah. So I just like opened up the back of the camera and like ripped the film out, and I was like, where's the photos? So I quickly learned from that there's a bit more of a process to it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
What are you shooting on now then?
So I've got the Voigtlander Bessa L. So it's like a wee dinky, it's kind of rangefinder style, but there's no way of focusing. The viewfinder is just like an optical finder on top. So you're just pretty much zone focusing the whole time. But it's great, you can fit it in your pocket, and like nobody knows you're even holding it when you're walking around. You can quickly sort of tuck it away, which is good.
Looking through your Instagram, I see like quite a few relationships between the characters and stuff in your images. There's one especially of a woman walking past Stradivarius, and you see the music note, and there's a guy in the background beside the music note, and he's singing it looks like to her, but she's like walking away, she's walking towards the camera, kind of like ignoring him. Like, is this like something that you look for in your images, or? Yeah,
I think like specifically with that image, I had seen that spot before, and there always tends to be someone standing singing underneath it, and I don't know whether they probably have made the connection with the music note before, but I just always thought it would be a kind of good photo. So you walk that route quite often, and I tend to sort of like wait for like the right moment. If someone's walking past there, I'll take the shot. But that one, I think it was just like good timing that this woman was like walking past. I think she has like her mouth open in it as well, so it kind of looks like she's singing or screaming or I don't know. Yeah. But like when I'm taking photos, there's so much. Probably know yourself. Like there's so much going on, and like I don't think you really have time to like frame and know exactly where everyone is going to be in that kind of image. So I think I'm just kind of reacting to like a lot of different things converging at the same time, and like just hoping that I press the shutter at the right moment. I think it's like with that wide lens, you're standing so close to people to like fill the frame. So if, like you're so close that I think people think you're taking a photo of what's behind them. And I get like the number of times I have been like called out on it is very, very rare in Belfast. Like nobody really notices that you're doing it. So I think being able to get that close and like just waiting for enough people to like, I don't know what it feels like. Everyone's just crossing paths, and you're like, you can see that moment coming, and you're just waiting for the moment where they all like line up, and it kind of makes sense.
In Belfast, such a small area with not a huge population, like what's your experience doing it?
Like for when I first got into street photography, I was kind of doing it and not really knowing exactly what I was doing. I just was taking photos of random people and random little weird things that was happening. But then once I started to like read up on it and look into it, I immediately felt like, oh, I can't do this. I need to be in New York or like Tokyo or whatever. It didn't make sense. Like, why is anyone going to look at an image of Belfast, and like there's not that many people, and when I go out it's so quiet and people are going to see me. There's like all these like doubts come into your mind. But then like I started to think, if like there's not that many people in Belfast doing street stuff, or at least in my mind there wasn't before I started meeting other people like you guys. Everything's changing so quickly as well. Like in 10, 20 years, you'll look back at those photos and they'll maybe have the same effect as like when you look at an image from New York in the 80s, because a lot of there's like a lot of nostalgia with that stuff, and I think that's what's hard when you look at your own work. There's not enough like age on it. It's too familiar.
And you develop and scan your own film, don't you?
Yeah. So like we recently moved house, so I used to have a sort of dedicated like bathroom space that just was always set up that I could use. But recently we've moved and I'm like in the kitchen sink and in the boiler cupboard trying to load up reels of film. But I think that part of the process can be the most annoying, because I like going out and having the feeling of shooting and like burning through rolls of film and being like, okay, I've got loads of pictures, but then sometimes I'm just like, oh, I wish I could just see the photos and like start putting together a bit of work. But there's all of that work beforehand. But once you get into it, every time you pull a roll of film out of the development tank and you see it, like you remember why you love it so much. You're like, oh my gosh,
it's class. It's such a good feeling.
One of the benefits of like Northern Ireland and Belfast, that you have a lot of rainy days too. So like today I'll probably just spend the rest of the day developing because it's too wet to go out. But
I talked to you before about you were doing weddings on film and stuff like that. Like how does that work with like a client, like taking that risk essentially with film and like paying for how much it costs to do that?
I think the first wedding I shot entirely on film for like photography. I'd brought I think I had a Nikon F80 or something like that. So like pretty much looks digital and like had an autofocus lens on it, and I brought it to their engagement session. And I was like, if you don't mind, I'm just going to take some on film. You'll probably never see them because I'll not send it off to get developed. But I did that time, and they seen the photos, and all of the ones that they picked were the film ones because they just looked class compared to the digital stuff. And they were like, do you think you could shoot a whole wedding on film? I was like, So I went for it. I think I went through like 2 or 3 boxes of Portrait 400 on the wedding day.
Quite a lot,
and sent it all off to what were they called? Exposure Film Lab. But they're now over in like Canada or something like that.
Really?
There's whoever it was, they've moved to Canada now. But got all the scans back. Didn't have to edit any of them because they just looked amazing.
You use Kodak Tri-X film though a lot for your street photography. Is there any reason that you shoot that over Ilford or filmography? Films.
I think it was the first black and white film that I'd got, so I kind of like felt really attached to it. I must have seen online that like that's what the like past greats, like the masters of street photography, were using. So I was like, right, well if I can get a camera and a lens that's kind of similar and the film, then I don't really have an excuse to not at least take a photo that kind of looks similar. I mean, not as good obviously, but like has the aesthetic of it. So that's why I got attached to the Tri-X. But then I'd shot a few different types like HP5, and I think I'd done some, I think I had tried Lomo black and white stuff, but like the Tri-X just had a nice sort of like contrast, and I pushed all my film to like 1600, so I need something that's gonna like withstand that and like not get too muddy when you start doing that. But I just like the look of it.
And is there any particular reason that you shoot on the rangefinder compared to an SLR?
I think maybe it was 2 years ago I kind of got back into shooting street stuff like every week, like shooting a couple of rolls, and I was using an AE1 program, which is a loud camera with the shutter. So not that many people noticed the shutter noise, but I think you're more self-conscious when you click the button it's going to sound like a gun going off. So I was looking for a smaller camera that was a little bit quieter. The best is not the quietest thing in the world. It's still like a metal shutter in there, but it's a whole lot.
It's not a big mirror.
There's not a big mirror slapping around.
You work in a coffee shop, established. Like, is there anything that like that makes you want to shoot in there, or like What do you like about being a barista?
I think I was thinking about this recently. There's like this weird kind of disconnect where there's a lot of customers coming in and out that I probably recognize when I'm out taking street photo stuff.
Yeah.
And on the street, I'm not like stopping everyone and saying, "Can I take your photo?" It's like candid.
Yeah.
So there's no interaction. You're just like taking something really quickly and leaving and walking on past. But then the coffee shop, it's almost like you're getting like a behind the scenes on the same people that you, not that they're exactly the same people, but people in and around Belfast. So you're getting a bit of their story in a way. I quite like that. Like there's a lot of different characters and things. It's similar.
What do you think about the Kodak price bump? Like, you know, you sell film, you shoot a lot of Tri-X, which is Kodak film. So what do you think about this price being 40% or more increase? Like, is it going to affect how much you shoot or affect how much you sell?
It's definitely affected like the supply. So it's hard to get Portra 400, as you know, and like all those kind of films. It's really hard to get your hands on it, and then once you do get it, the price is like ridiculous. So you're having to like bump up the price you're selling at. I think that it might discourage people from shooting quite as much, but I guess you're like gonna enjoy the photos a bit more and like be a bit more thoughtful about it. It certainly made me think about whether I can keep shooting Tri-X or whether I should try a different film and just deal with the difference in the look. Just because when you're shooting at volume, it adds up really quick when you could like burn through.
Especially with street photography, you know, you're shooting so much because you want to get that one good frame. Like if I go out and I have one good photo from a roll, I'm pretty happy from it. So, but you need to take 36 photos to get that. And to spend like £8 a roll to get one good photo, and then developing costs as well, it does add up. You sell film on your Film Supply UK website. What got you started into doing that?
Do you know, it was probably from knowing that I wanted to shoot a volume of film myself, so I was like looking for a way to get film cheaper. So that started me looking into like wholesaling and like how do you get it from suppliers. So I was like trying to learn the whole supply chain. You can't just get it direct from Kodak, it's got to go through like multiple people before you can get it yourself. And the more I thought about it, I was like, there's nowhere really in Belfast selling film at a like reasonable sort of internet price. That's what got the idea started in my head. And then the more I thought about it, I was like, if I had a website like this, you could bring a sort of community of people together. So like where I met you came to one of the photo walk things that we organized last,
I think it was
September.
April.
Yeah, something like that. So that was a really good surprise just to see how many people were in Northern Ireland and shooting film. And like I think a couple of those people have now met up again and they went out to shoot together. And that side of it is really interesting. Actually selling the film is just sort of a gateway to the community side and like who you meet on Instagram and who's sending you messages about can you get this, can you get that.
It's so weird though as well, because when I showed up to that I was expecting maybe like 5 people, but
me too.
it was a miserable day as well, and like most days here, but like it was really wet and rainy, but people still showed up. People were fantasizing over what cameras they were using and what film they were using, and you know, it wasn't even about the photos really. You know, the photos could be hit or miss, but like it was about building up that community, and you know, everyone's still in contact with each other, and that's what I'm aiming to do with the Emulsion as well. Like it's for people that are outside of Northern Ireland too, like these videos, and it'll be gaining an insight on what we're doing. But for the community, I really want to build Instagram and try and like get collaborations with other people and featuring people's work on the Instagram and also on the YouTube channel, because you know there's so many people that are unknown out there that are like making really good work, and if you're not, you know, if you haven't got 10,000 followers, then it's like your work's not good. It's not really like that. It's just trying to get people seen. So
you're so quick to scroll through the images, and like you're probably like me, you follow a lot of film photographers and street people, and you can be just so quick to skip past like a photo that might have taken hours to like scan and get right and develop, and then you spend all the money on the film and we're just like flicking through them like they're nothing. But I guess it's a good way to find your little community of people, because even like within, there's the film community, but then there's like the portrait stuff and the contemporary people and the street stuff, and then there's like landscape and all that, and like they all section off into their own little like niches. But like even just in the last year or so of being a bit more confident in putting my street stuff out, because like my account is from when I, you know, there's like family and friends on that don't have a clue what I'm at, and they're like, what are you taking photos of? But like it's built up around that other people across the world that are kind of like doing the same thing. So it's nice being able to spread out and like reach other people and be able to ask questions like, how do you, like I was asking a guy the other day like about enlarging photos and all that side of things. It's good for that community side.
What do you think of, you know, people coming new to film in 2020? Like, it's a lot of young people doing it, but as you saw from the film walk, there's also like the older generation coming, or that are still in it. Do you think that like young people are being discouraged by it, or like, because when you go into the likes of university, you know, it's not, film isn't the first thing that you pick up. It's like it's a lot of digital stuff, and not that there's anything wrong with it, but I just think that people should be shown the origins of photography first. So what do you think about film in 2020?
I think like it's obviously a lot easier to get, there's so many like videos on YouTube of how to, like from the basics, how to load a camera, how to develop, how to scan, all that kind of stuff. So there's not like that barrier of like actually being able to do it. I think there's maybe, I don't know, if someone was like getting into film stuff, there's like the quality of work that people are putting out on film would maybe discourage people a wee bit, because it's like, how do I take photos like this, how do I get that good? But like at the end of the day, it is a tool, and I think like being able to shoot film, like if you can get a cheap medium format camera or a cheap 35mm camera, you've got access to like the most amazing image quality for like £100-200, and you can go out and shoot portrait and scan it, and you'd have an image that is like technically on par with anybody else shooting the same stuff.
So thanks Ryan for coming on the show. Where can people find you?
So on Instagram at ryan.incoop. I have a website too with stuff, but I can't remember the name of it. I think it's just ryanorphoto.com.
Okay, and your film company?
And filmsupply.co.uk as well, if you want to buy some film.